Welcome to the Paul Harrell program. Today on the show, we're going to talk about the government shutdown. Is the government being shut down? Is that a good thing? I certainly think it is, and we're going to hear from, we're going to see what Russ Vought actually does with this. The media already panicking because Russ Vought is saying, or Vote, or however you pronounce his name. I've heard different pronunciations. They're saying he is going to not just furlough people, he's going to actually end their positions and fire them during this government shutdown. Also, why in my feed are so many people lamenting the Maha movement, and they're saying that the Maha movement is now over because of President Trump and RFK's deal with Pfizer? We'll talk about that, as well as the Anti-Defamation League. They have decided to end their glossary of hate groups, as well as the FBI's Kash Patel ending his association with the ADL as well. We'll talk about that and what all of that means here on the Paul Harrell program. It starts now.
The Paul Harrell program.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as always, I want to remind you guys, that's my fault. Had a double click there. I want to remind everybody to go and like this video on whatever platform you're watching on, as well as share it with others. We really appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, as well as make sure to follow X American News. I'm here with my co-host, Rob Spencer. Rob, it's always great to have you, sir.
Paul, it is an honor to be here, obviously.
We missed you yesterday,
Yeah,
by
couldn't
the
be
way.
on the show yesterday, but I listened after the fact, so I had several appointments that I just could not move yesterday. But, of course, glad to be back on talking about all the stuff. The big elephant in the room is the government shutdown. And, what does that mean for everybody? What is, there's so much strategy going on right now. We're going to talk about that over the next hour. It's going to be interesting to see how this develops and who sort of gives first, right? Who is going to blink first? And then we, obviously have the Maha under attack due to the new Pfizer deal. We're going to talk about that, as well as, other news of the day. So glad to be back on the show with you.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely glad that you're here, glad that you're with us, as always. And I thought I enjoyed Bill Peacock yesterday. It was interesting. It was good to have his take on something, and I think it would have been an even better conversation had you had been here. That's why I told Bill off of the air that normally we have three people, and it makes for a much broader, fuller discussion. But yeah, the government shutdown. So I sent you some stuff earlier today because you were asking me, okay, what exactly gets shut down? And really and truly, and this is from government shutdowns in the past, the left wants to spin this as like the government is going away.
Yes.
And that's just not the case.
Yeah.
Like the main functions of government still continue.
Yeah.
It's just the little things that aren't there.
What I would really love is if there was a sort of provision and I don't know, what do you want to call it? I don't know if it needs to be a law or if it's just like a procedural thing or whatever. I don't know. But that the United States Congress, the Senate, the House of Representatives, that their paychecks stopped.
Yeah.
Once the government shutdown started. Like they were the first on the chopping blocks. And I would imagine that we would have fewer shutdowns.
Yeah, the government would never shut down.
It's amazing. And when anytime you increase, the debt, they have to offset it by, some of their salaries and all of that stuff. And it's like that debt would go away pretty darn quickly, in my opinion.
If they weren't making money, you're exactly right. Here in Arkansas, we actually have a balanced budget law, right?
Yeah.
It has to balance out.
There has to be a reconciliation that happens, and it has to equal out.
Yeah, but we'll see what happens. I think we're to the point where a lot of people just don't care. The Democrats are going to try to use this to, get a bunch of momentum for the midterms, but which are still, a long ways away. We're over a year away.
Right. Is this a momentum for so if you don't know, follow us. It's, what is it called? Paul Talk Show.
Yeah.
That is our Twitter handle or X handle.
Right.
And so you have control of that, and I have control of that. So if you see a real snarky, pissy sort of comment, it was from me. It was not from Paul. Paul's a lot more professional online. No. I see something and I get really ticked about it, and I will post. And if that is what you see, then it came from me, just so you know.
So now I have the license to just post the most vile stuff ever.
You're like, well, that was Rob. Sorry. But anyway, all I can see in all the feed, and I was like, because I had interacted as our X account, I'd interacted with him, I kept seeing more, and it was the Elizabeth Warrens of the world, the Schumers, the Bernie Sanders, the what's that? I can't remember the complete liberal loon from Minnesota, but regardless, like all of these people were talking about, well, the Republican government shutdown has started. Trump has shut down the government and all that stuff. And it was like I commented on Elizabeth Warren's post, and I'm like, ma'am, you had a vote to keep the government open with the CR, the continuing resolution. How did you vote on that? How'd you vote? Did you vote yes or did you vote no? Because no was a government shutdown. Yes was to keep it open. How did you vote?
That's right.
Oh, it's more than that. No, it's more than that, because we've got to get these things in here. Bull. I believe what Mike Johnson said. He is facing Chuck Schumer, the Senate Minority Leader, is facing probably his biggest challenge of ever in his career, which stretches back to the 90s, right? He is facing that biggest challenge, and it will be either AOC or another sort of squad-like person jumping into the race and saying, get rid of this old fogey. And what is he trying to do? He's trying to placate the socialist sort of far-left wing of his party, and that's what he's trying to do.
It's funny that you mentioned AOC. Let me go right to this clip. We're not going to start here, but AOC went on MSNBC and was urging she wants to negotiate something. I want you to listen to this. This is pretty interesting. And then
hold on just a second.
Yeah.
What is there to negotiate in the House? They've already passed it.
I know. This is why this is so funny. There is nothing to negotiate, but she wants the senators to come to her.
What I'm not going to do is tolerate 4 million uninsured Americans because Donald Trump decided one day that he wants to just make sure that kids are dying because they don't have access to insurance. That's what's not going to happen. And so if those senators think that we're having a shutdown because of me, they're free to enter my office and negotiate, because what we're not going to do is allow all of millions of people in this country to not be able to afford their insulin and their chemotherapy. So come strike a deal with me if that's what they really think is going.
Come strike a deal with you. Who are you?
I know, and
you're not the speaker. You're not a whip. You're not a minority leader. You're not
really
anything.
Hilarious.
You're not even a whip.
And she's in the House. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, what are you talking about? And Nancy Pelosi got asked this question about what AOC said.
There was a thought from the Republicans that AOC is directing this, and she said that senators are welcome to go to her office directly. Is she driving that?
Why are you saying such a ridiculous thing?
I'm just quoting what AOC said. She said go to her office directly. Do you think there's any credibility to that?
She's not directing this. She's wonderful. She's a real team player and the rest of that. You started by saying Republicans saying that she's directing this. She is not. Hakeem Jeffries is. This takes a lot of experience, a lot of unity from the caucus in terms of the point of view, and that's what this is. She's an articulate spokesperson for her point of view, Hakeem Jeffries.
Yeah, she put that to bed.
You know what?
Such clarity from Nancy Pelosi.
Here's man, what we have this. Oh man, I'm trying to think of the perfect analogy here, but it's like it's this. You've got this old guard dog, and you've had him in front of your grocery store, and he's just this old guard dog, and he's been there, and now you've got this young, fresh, full of life, articulate guard dog that comes in here. He's trying to take over the job, and what we're seeing is we're seeing a fight. We're seeing this epic fight, and what's going to happen, because we're already seeing it in New York, is that young dog is going to win, and the AOCs of the world who have been knocking at the door of Nancy Pelosi, and Nancy Pelosi has been doing everything that she can to stifle it, to keep them down. She's not keeping them down anymore.
Yeah.
She's really not.
Well, the AOCs of the world, they have an argument. I mean, you look at J.D. Vance, who's a millennial. He's the vice president of the United States, right? And so, you've got all these old people in the Democrat Party who are wielding the power, and they're not, they don't want to give it up. And so,
but we're seeing it on the right as well. We've got the Mitt Romneys, and we've got the J.D. Vances.
Right. Notice that Generation X was kind of just leapfrogged over in the Republican Party.
Well, because we've been so indifferent about things.
I just wonder, like with, I don't know, is Hakeem Jeffries, I don't know how old he is, but is he Gen X? I
don't know how old Hakeem Jeffries is, but I can tell you that he talks with his hands a whole lot.
Yeah.
And he is getting absolutely blistered. Do we have that as a clip? I don't know if we've got that one. But
we do have them. But let's get to what the
first.
Let's go to what MSNBC is saying about what Russ Vought is about to do.
Kevin Fry on Capitol Hill, where House Republicans are about to hear from Budget Director Russ Vought. Kevin, what more do we know about this meeting and what it might mean for the shutdown fight?
Right. I mean, this is essentially, presumably, kind of a conference call on exactly what the next steps are in terms of the White House's approach to all of this. I mean, some of this has already been signaled publicly, of course. The OMB releasing that memo just a few days ago, signaling that they're going to go further than just furloughing folks, but actually terminating their jobs. Perhaps we'll get some more details coming out of this call on that. This also, though, comes as Vought just today announced that he is freezing, the federal government, the Trump administration is freezing about $18 billion for major infrastructure projects in New York. Of course, the home state of Congressman Jeffries and Senator Schumer, the top two Democrats here on Capitol Hill, for such big projects as this tunnel under the Hudson River. That has been blasted by Democrats already as essentially mafiosa tactics. And one senator telling reporters today that he believes this should stiffen the spine of Democrats as this shutdown battle now gets into full swing. In terms of what leadership is saying, it's quite frankly the same talking points we've been hearing for some time now. Their lines in the sand are being drawn. Take a listen.
Democrats want to avert this crisis, but Republicans tried to bully us.
He looks like a comic book villain.
He does.
If you had to draw a comic book villain, that's this guy. That's Chuck Schumer, man.
Chuck Schumer looks like he died 5 years ago and just refused to accept that memo.
Yeah.
And he goes in. He never gives, almost ever, I haven't seen it in years, unscripted comments.
Yeah.
And he used to be a fireball in the Senate, right? You know, if you look back some of his stuff in the 90s, and a lot of that stuff is making the rounds right now because of his comments on illegal immigrants. But when you look back some of his stuff in the 90s, he was a fireball. Mm-hmm. Look back at Nancy Pelosi, same thing, man. You know, Nancy Pelosi's brain is still there. It may not come out.
Well, yeah,
in the whatever.
Vodka or bourbon or whatever.
Yeah, but I'm just going to tell you something right now. I have zero belief that Hakeem Jeffries is running the show.
Yeah,
I still believe Nancy is running the show, and I believe that this douche hasn't been running the show in years.
Yeah, I mean,
in the Senate, I don't know who is running it on the Democrat side in the Senate, but it ain't that douche.
So the original meme that Donald Trump posted, we can't air because I haven't bleeped it out, but it was hilarious. This is the second one that he. So this was after him, after Hakeem Jeffries calling it racist, right? It's a racist meme. So then Trump. Go ahead.
Okay. A couple of things. Number one, so the first video, if you haven't seen it, I can't believe you haven't seen it.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, but it's him and Schumer, and he's Jeffries doesn't say anything, but Schumer's just like, oh, we got to get new voters because everybody's tired of our BS, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, and it's just
hilarious. And they've rejected the trans BS.
Yeah. So, and he goes, even the blacks won't vote for us, and the Hispanics, they won't vote for us. So we need new voters until the illegals learn how to speak English, and they'll realize they don't like us either.
Exactly. It was really good. I mean, it was really well done. And honestly, the sombrero and the mustache actually make Hakeem Jeffries look Hispanic.
Yeah, they do.
He really does. So anyway, Trump posted this.
So this was his follow up because he's been going on all the stuff and just griping about it. Jeffrey
Bigotry will get you nowhere. We are fighting to protect the health care of the American people in the face of an unprecedented Republican assault.
So now this guy's going to be walking around looking for. Honestly, I think this is going to happen. Here's a prediction. Somebody needs to do this. Somebody needs to get an actual mariachi band to just kind of jump out at Hakeem Jeffries and just start playing.
Just follow him around like this pay you get those singing valograms, you know? Like that's what you need. The singing valogram who's like, listen, I was paid. I gotta do the whole do the whole song.
There's Hakeem Jeffries.
and so this mariachi band is going through the halls of Congress.
That would be great.
Okay,
but they just need to, musically ambush him.
Yeah.
Musically. And he's walking down the steps of the Capitol, and then boom, and then somebody needs to film it.
Yeah.
And just watch him run away.
Oh, my. It'd be so funny. It would be the best video. It'd be like the most viewed video on TikTok ever. And speaking of that, I did see this video, and she was Hispanic, and she was also said, she's like literally half the people. She's a conservative Latina, whatever, I don't know what the proper term for that is, but anyway, she's a Latina and she is conservative. And she's like, half of the people in my circle are Mexican, as she said it. And she goes, I've shown them this video. Every one of them just dies laughing. So he's sitting here calling this racist. And I'm like, ain't no Hispanics think this is, like, they think this is hilarious.
I think if you did the mariachi idea, then it would be great because then Hakeem Jeffries might think that there's a mariachi band around every corner. So, he's literally... I don't want to be the
Republicans are looking for crazed Democrats with guns.
Yeah.
Right around the corner. Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader, he will be looking for a mariachi band around the corner.
Look out. They could be anywhere. So... This is another example of how the Democrats can't meme. So Gavin Newsom is desperate to try to get in on this, and so they think they've got one. They made a meme of J.D. Vance with Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
If you're flying today, I hope, of course, you arrive safely and on time, but you may not arrive on time because the TSA and the air traffic controllers are not getting paid today. Our military is not getting paid today, starting today, and obviously the longer this drags on, the worse that it is for the American people.
Okay, I don't really understand,
well, even if I was a Democrat, I would look at that and be like, "Well, what's funny about that?" Because you're not dubbing over his words. He's literally saying our military's not getting paid. Our TSA is not getting paid. He's literally slamming Democrats still, and you could have changed his words. You could have done the voiceover, the AI voiceover, which is the video that we were talking about.
I don't understand the glasses. I don't get that. I mean, in the American hat, the Uncle Sam hat.
Democrats don't know how to meme.
Yeah,
they don't know how. First of all, they're not funny at all. The only funny slams that we've seen by the left, and who knows what the creators of South Park are actually, whether they're the left or the right. I really don't think that they're anything. I think they just literally make fun of everybody.
I would agree with you except on one point. They did not do one, and to my knowledge, I don't watch South Park the way I used to when I was younger. To my knowledge, they didn't do one episode on Joe Biden. You would have thought they would have done it some episode.
Make fun of his age and stuff.
Or wearing diapers or that sort of thing. For 4 years.
That's true. I don't know that I saw
nothing.
That. Yeah.
And while I still, think, and Charlie Kirk, I agree. I don't think Charlie Kirk would have wanted them to pull the episode down.
Right.
Because Charlie Kirk liked the episode. And
he loved it.
He thought it was
his profile pics. Yeah.
But I will say, I've always thought that the South Park creators, Matt Stone, Trey Parker, were just like, we'll go after anybody. Mm-hmm. But they didn't during the Biden administration.
They didn't go after him, except that the video of the trans thing there, and it was like a decathlon.
Yeah, that was great.
And
that was a great episode.
And it was a trans person. It was Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah,
and he's like, I can't tell you how great I feel now that I identify as a woman.
Yeah, exactly. That was fantastic. They certainly took that issue
So
on.
that's what I was trying to say when he goes at both sides, but the Charlie Kirk stuff was funny.
It was.
And he admitted that it was funny.
Right.
Like, they got it right, and they were, I mean, it was just really, really funny.
Well, and now South Park's under fire from people like the ADL because I think one of their latest episodes I saw, they were criticizing Israel. And I think the episode ends with Kyle's mom going and confronting Benjamin Netanyahu about the war in Gaza. I just saw a clip of it, and I was like, huh.
Well,
and now it's being denounced.
Well, they keep having Trump, like, sleeping with Satan, and I'm like, okay, it was really funny in Bigger, Longer, Uncut when Saddam Hussein was boyfriend-girlfriend with Satan, right?
Well, that I was in the 7th grade when that episode.
Boyfriend.
By the way, I'm just saying, like, that is such an old
I am. I'm 5 years older than you, I guess, at this point, right?
I'm 41.
Yeah, so I'm 45. But so basically, that joke has been done before on South Park, but it had been 20-something years. So,
they just resurrected it.
But anyway, Trump sleeping with Satan, the jokes, I was watching it, and I'm like, I am not laughing at it, but I'm not laughing because I'm a fan of Trump.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not laughing because I don't think it's funny.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the joke, it doesn't make sense, like, none of this stuff. Now, the J.D. Vance, the miniature J.D. Vance
hilarious,
from the
legitimately.
Fantasy Island,
Yep.
like, the boss, the plane.
That was
boss.
funny.
I was like, that's really funny. But the whole thing with Trump, I'm like, I don't know. You're like, okay, well, he's got a tiny penis, and they do that joke on the show, and I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. But anyway, regardless, my whole point of it is, it just goes to show you that the left doesn't really know humor. They don't have humor because all they have is hate and frustration and anger inside them.
And we've talked about this before, that humor and laughter bring people together, and it lightens the mood.
Yeah.
And the left's in they can't really laugh because they don't want people to be brought together. Like, if you don't believe exactly the way they do, you don't have a right to laugh.
Right.
Are you laughing?
Sure. Well,
that's...
Yeah, and I was at an event, this has been about a month ago, I was at an event where I was the only conservative that I knew of, for sure. There may have been one other one, and then the rest were liberals, and there might have been 8 or 9 of us, somewhere around in there. And so we were just talking about, I was like, well, oh gosh, I can't remember what the setup was, but essentially what I said was, calling someone racist doesn't have the sting that it used to have.
Yeah, because everything is racist, so now nothing is.
So nothing does. And she said, I said racist and homophobic, right, are the two things. And she goes, well, I agree on homophobic, but not on the racism, And it was like, okay, wait a minute. What is her algorithm? Because her algorithm still apparently shows her that if you call someone a racist, then that's a bad thing, And so it goes to the point of Hakeem Jeffries is calling Trump a racist because he's got the mariachi band playing behind him. And whereas I think the conservatives and even the independents don't think that's racist.
No, absolutely not. I agree. I completely agree with that. And that is interesting when you said, your algorithm, because you talked about the Paul Talk Show account, that'll get in an algorithm. My account, Real Paul Harrell, will get in an algorithm. Everything, Twitter, or TikTok, all of that. By the way, TikTok is, and I'm going to dive into this, but there's reports now that TikTok has changed ownership to American. There's rampant censorship now going on for stuff that has no business being censored. And anyway, we need to do a show on that.
Well,
I just now saw some of that.
The right was already being censored on
TikTok,
but if it's going to get worse, then you're going to see a stiff decline.
Yeah, and we had that video that got up to 1 million. Our random, and see, that's the stuff on TikTok that's okay. The video that we have that is now over 1 million views from a couple of months ago, or I don't know, a month ago, we were just talking about the game and fish.
Right.
And so that kind of content, it seems like the algorithm will take you places. But when you talk about serious stuff or you talk about politics, it's really difficult to get that stuff to go viral.
I mean, you wonder if the algorithm just tamps that stuff down.
Yeah.
But I would say that if like if I don't have a dog in the fight, right, or a dog in the hunt, to be more politically correct, if I don't have a dog in the hunt, and I'm a TikTok, and all I care about is user engagement, I'm letting that political stuff go. Come on, bring that political stuff, because nothing's going to engage people.
That's right.
And induce comments more than a fiery political debate. So why would they tamp it down just because of their
for control?
Because
they're afraid of the opinions of average people.
Yeah,
that's why. And they don't want that out there because it's But we need to do a whole segment on that once I do some more research and find out specifically what's going on. Real quick, here is Caroline Levitt. She's get the questions. When is Russ Vogt going to start firing people?
I'm just trying to clarify the timing of these potential layoffs to federal workers. You said imminent. The vice president seemed to say in a couple of days. It looks like Russ Vogt maybe said in 2 days. When would these layoffs begin?
2 days, imminent, very soon. You will expect more announcements right now.
Is it just not unclear, or are you waiting?
No, it's not unclear. All of those things are very synonymous with one another. These rifts are unfortunately going to happen very soon.
I'm just trying to clarify the timing of these potential layoffs to federal workers. You said imminent. The vice president seemed to say in a couple of days. It looks like Russ Vogt maybe said in 2 days.
So sorry,
we were talking.
Yeah, we were talking off air. Yeah, so it is going to happen. The question is, does he take a scalpel or does he take a hatchet to the government? I mean, conservatives have been waiting on something like this to happen for a while.
Libertarians too,
with the right person in. Obviously, government shutdowns have happened, but how far are they going to go?
Libertarians have been begging for this day as well, and I don't know what percentage of the electorate libertarians make up for it. And because Megyn Kelly, everybody calls her a conservative. She's a libertarian. She just agrees way more with the right than she does with the left.
Yeah.
She would probably be, her and Joe Rogan, would probably be like the two biggest libertarians that you're probably going to, ever hear about. But both of them have gone further right in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Or
have they gone further right and I think they have, but how much of that is also the Democrats just like going crazy,
Yeah. It reminds me of a scene from, what was it? One of the Harry Potter movies or something where, Hagrid is taking the class out there and he's asking for a volunteer. And he turns around. He's like, "Oh, do I have a volunteer?" And then he turns around and looks at everybody. Everybody has backed up except for Harry.
Yeah.
And so it looked like Harry stepped forward.
Yeah.
Right? And it's that same sort of thing where it's like, all right, if I'm a Republican and I'm just staying put like Harry was in that movie, right? If I'm a Republican and these are my views and da-da-da-da-da, and now you're saying I'm going further right, to your point, it's most likely because the herd has moved to the left.
Yeah.
Right? And so where is the line anymore? Where is the center? Is there somebody that's truly, I would want to hear, like, if you are truly in the center, I want to hear from you. Mm-hmm. I want to know what you're left on and what you're right on.
Yeah.
I want to know if you walked into the voting booth this past November in 2024 and were like, Trump, Harris. Like, honestly, I want to know what kind of person, where you are politically, if you were walking into that voting booth not knowing.
Yeah, very few.
I can't imagine that there were any, Paul.
Yeah.
Now, there are people that'll say that they are.
Right.
But I don't know that there are many.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's like pretty much zero.
Well, and I believe that there are so many people on the left leading into that election that voted for Kamala Harris that have seen what the left has done. We're not too very far away from the left vandalizing Teslas.
Yeah.
Okay?
Again.
Yeah. And it was like, wait a minute, leftists, do you realize who drives Teslas?
Yeah, that's a really funny story.
You know?
Our friend Jacob Holloway.
Yeah.
Have I told you that story?
Well, did he talk
was he
about
here?
it? He was here, but I don't know if he told that story on air. He told it off air.
It was just so funny. Yeah, I mean, he had a Tesla, and he used to be on the left when he was much younger. And now, he ended up working for the Trump campaign in a capacity, I think, in Colorado or Nevada or somewhere. But he tells the story about how when he first got his Tesla, he would have these conservatives and big trucks pull up in front of him, and they would like
Rev it
diesels, they would rev it up, and they would
blow the smoke.
Yeah, blow the smoke all over his car. And now that Trump or now that Elon is in with the right, now he's worried about getting assaulted when he pulls up in his Tesla at a charging station. Mm-hmm. And then this happened. And then when Elon and Trump had their falling out, I called him or I texted him. I was like, well, having a Tesla's now effeminate again. Congratulations. And he just laughed. Of course, now I think Elon and Trump are going to try to mend ways. But it is interesting how the psychology behind that.
Well, it just blew my mind because you were just like, okay, well, I gotta hurt Elon, so I'm gonna go ahead and commit a felony. Mm-hmm. And some of them who are blowing up, if you're blowing up a Tesla dealership, as some of them did, like there were multiple of that, it was like, wait a minute, you're risking prison over it, okay, sir, madam, whoever, whatever you want to call yourself, are you so under the indoctrination that you can't come out of that? At what point do you say, I am a law-abiding citizen and I'm about to blow up a Tesla dealership? Okay? Because some of the one guy in Utah had never committed a crime before.
Yeah, all the warning signs were there. I mean, if you really think about it, Rob, I mean, yeah, to be in that state of mind to where you value politics so much that you're willing to not just be civilly disobedient, but you're willing to commit felonies for what? For some sort of political statement. And
bawled like a baby when he was arrested.
Yeah, and that's, then the other side of that is, are people being paid to do this? Because that might push people over the edge to be able to do it.
Money will make you forget your morals awful quick.
But the warning signs were there. I mean, if we go back 6 months and we go back to the Tesla fires, we go back to the guy throwing rocks at ICE agents, as they're driving by, and you think, wow, all the warning signs were there that they were going to kill Charlie Kirk, or that some high-profile person was going to be assassinated. And it's just like the left just gets away with it.
But we become numb to it. It's the same reason, Paul, that a police officer who's been called out to the same address for domestic disputes gets indifferent when they get another call. But that one, the dude actually killed her.
Yeah.
That one, the guy who smacks around his wife, who's, he's already a piece of trash if he does that, but he smacks around his wife. She calls the police for the 7th time, and the police are like, well, if you're not going to leave him, whatever. They become numb to it. And I wonder if conservatives and even the United States as a whole has become numb to leftist violence. Because if that's where we are with it, then that's how they're going to have a surprise assassination of Charlie Kirk. That they're going to set bombs under a Fox News van. They're going to walk into a Christian school in Nashville and murder them. Like if we become numb to it and ignore those warning signs, to your point, then that's where more violence is going to seep through.
Tim Pool was talking about this on his show last night at the Turning Point USA headquarters. And he was specifically talking about Steven Crowder, who recently went back to college campuses and relaunched his Change My Mind segment. He went to SMU to do it.
Yeah.
But Tim Pool said that Steven Crowder told him that he feels very guilty about the assassination of Charlie Kirk, in that, one of the reasons he quit doing the Change My Mind segment was because of the threats.
But the Change My Mind segment was the OG.
Yeah,
he was doing that before Charlie Kirk.
That's right. He was the OG. Yeah. And so, but the point being was, apparently, and Tim Pool verified this because Tim Pool's been swatted like a billion times.
Yeah.
They tell you that when you have the threats or you have the swatting, is to not talk about it. And the same thing was with Steven Crowder, according to Tim Pool, to not talk about just how credible these threats against their lives are, because talking about it, conventional wisdom says, security apparatus says, is going to increase the amount of threats you get, right? making a big deal of it going to increase the amount of threats you get. And what Tim Pool was saying last night via, through Steven Crowder is that maybe that was a mistake. Maybe not being forthcoming, not actually sharing with the public. Who cares if they get worse? Hey, no, these people are crazy, and this is the death threat, this is the swatting, and just list them all so that, maybe. And I guess I don't know if that would have made a difference, but maybe it would have. Maybe it would have if more people had known just how crazy the left has become.
I mean, if you're Charlie Kirk and you realize that, the majority of the people there on that campus have been programmed. I'm going to say the word programmed. They have been.
Well, it's called television programming for a reason. Ever think about that?
That's a good point.
Yep.
So you're talking about a college campus where the majority of that campus is liberal. Okay, at least from the staff and all of that standpoint. So Charlie Kirk knew that. And so he's walking into the lion's den, for lack of a better way to put it. And he had security that did it. But to Steven Crowder's point there, had the threat been vocalized a little bit more, maybe you have a person on the roof of the tallest building in that area to look down on the other roofs.
Yeah.
Roofs.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe that's what, maybe the threat assessment is so great that there's no stone unturned in terms of your due diligence there with safety. I hope that that there was nothing that could have been done that would have prevented that is easily found out.
Yeah.
Because then what that leads to is just these massive regrets.
Yeah.
With certain things.
And if I'm just assuming here that if both Steven Crowder and Tim Pool have been told, hey, when you do get a threat, they mentioned it a few times, but don't tell every new one you get. I'm sure Charlie Kirk was getting the exact same advice because he was getting threats. He knew what was how bad it was. But you brought up we're bringing up Charlie Kirk here. So Rob, I do have to. I'm going to take us on a little bit of a rabbit trail here.
Do it
about the assassination and Tyler Robinson. And everybody trying to get to the bottom of exactly what happened. Still have a lot of holes. And I know you and I had talked about how we were going to maybe do a show where we kind of go over all the different theories about how Charlie Kirk was assassinated. But I think my number one biggest red flag in all of this, after watching the different theories and watching the different videos, getting lost in all of that, which is very easy to do, whether the shot came from the front or from the right, or whether... some people said it was a lapel mic. Other people said, it wasn't a 30. It clearly wasn't a 30-06. You can get in. My biggest red flag is they didn't secure the crime scene. Yeah. And not only did they not secure the crime scene, which is understandable for at least, a couple of minutes because everybody's running around and trying to get, but they've allowed Utah Valley University to completely pave over, and I don't know if you know this, they literally paved over it. It's now stones. They did a construction job and they've completely whitewashed area.
I haven't heard anything about
that. It is not there in its old form. It has been completely remodeled down right where the tent was. And I think to myself, how in the world do you allow something like that to happen? Because if this was an investigation, like if I were tasked with investigating this and I'm not law enforcement, that site would go unchanged for a long time.
Yeah.
I would want to analyze the video. I'd want to get up on the buildings. I'd want to use laser pointers to try to figure out exactly what was going on. And that to me is the biggest red flag. They did not secure that place, and they've let the university completely destroy it. And so that's going to be like bottom line, like when we do this show trying to analyze all this, like that's bottom line biggest red flag to me. I don't know how that was allowed to happen. So
I don't think we'll ever get to know that. I can understand Utah. Was it Utah Valley?
Yeah.
Utah Valley State's desire to want to move past,
of course,
this thing. But I do not understand, to your point, like how the FBI would have allowed that.
Yeah, I understand they don't want this, but my goodness, it's only been 3 weeks. Been 3 weeks today. Wow. How do you allow? I mean, and people have taken the photos of the construction, and then they put pavers over it all, and it's like, I don't know, man. I just think I think that's a huge red flag, and it's just going to continue to further the conspiracy theories, and still don't have one photo of this guy holding the rifle.
There are crime scenes that you can't get if a murder happens that they don't let you into for 6 months, right? Because they keep going back to the crime scene. They keep going back, and they're just say, well, the reason that they're allowing this, the person who is, maybe not a conspiracy theorist, or at the very least, like, you don't have any questions about this. You accept the government's version of this is the shooter, this is how he did it. We don't know where that gun was in the video that he was jumping down off of the building. It was a disappearing gun. Who knows, right? Or it folded down. Who the heck knows? But the bottom line is, let's just say that you buy all of that. You literally buy all of that. You still have to take a bunch of leaps here for you to say there is nothing else that can be learned from that crime scene.
Yeah. I completely agree with you.
You can't convince me that. Yeah. It's 3 weeks.
So as a transition to our next topic, I want to ask you real quick about interest rates. If you don't mind, let us know, because New Horizon Real Estate is a sponsor of the show.
Sure.
And so I want to give you the floor and kind of tell everybody what's the real estate market like right now.
Right now, we need some additional real estate interest relief. So essentially what we've got is the Federal Reserve sets interest rates for banks to borrow, right? And so that affects your car loans, and it affects interest rates whenever you purchase an investment property. But that's different than mortgage rates. Mortgage rates are determined by a projection on the 10-year bond market, okay? So the stock market. Now, what happens is when the Federal Reserve lowers interest rates, sometimes the mortgage rates will pop up, but then they're going to usually pop down as well. It's not a direct correlation, but there is an indirect correlation there. So suffice it to say that for us to have a hot spring real estate market, which affects and helps everybody, right? Because if we've got low mortgage rates, then people who are lifelong renters can escape that rat race and get in there. That also helps our local governments, because then we've got an owner occupied in there paying taxes, property taxes, as opposed to this investor who's just making this money. So what we need is the Federal Reserve to continue to lower these interest rates, and then we need that 10-year bond market with the stock market to sort of follow suit, and hopefully by spring of next year we're going to see some mortgage rates in the 4s.
Wow, that would be
great. It may be a little bit ambitious, but let's hope.
Well, there's our New Horizon Real Estate Minute. So in my feed, we have a lot of people in the Maha movement that are very, very angry with President Trump and RFK. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about how it really was a groundbreaking press conference, the Tylenol, the autism, what Trump said about vaccines. I don't think he went far enough, but I thought it was a good step in the right direction. And then the very next week, or 2 weeks later, we have this powwow with Pfizer. And there's a lot of people, a lot of Trump supporters that think Pfizer during COVID committed crimes against humanity. There's a lot of people out there that think that. I happen to be one of them. So how do we reconcile this deal? Let me just go to the critics first. We're going to go to the critics, and here's Ann Vandersteel, who I've interviewed before. She's a fantastic woman. She says, yesterday's Oval Office meeting with Big Pharma executives crossed a red line for me. Trump RX isn't healthcare reform. She says it's a $70 billion shakedown. Pfizer gets tariff relief, plus entrenches its failed mRNA empire. So Trump X apparently is the new company that's going to be offering drugs at a very cheap rate, or much cheaper rate, what the global market sets at, right? They want these big pharmaceutical companies to charge what they charge other countries, and Americans always get the higher price, which is not fair. Trump slaps his brand on a direct-to-consumer pharma site, skimming royalties off poison sold as savings. Jobs for a few, control for many, death for millions. So essentially drug prices are reduced and mRNA gets a pass. No wonder Secretary Kennedy looks looks like a pissed off wet cat. And so this is just a little bit of audio from that meeting yesterday.
We're going to finally deliver on the fair
Dr.
drug
Oz.
prices that President Trump has been speaking about for 2 terms. We're going to celebrate this historic day, I predict, this historic day in the medical field for generations to come. The heroic negotiators that I do feel compelled to mention, and Secretary Kennedy kindly also mentioned their names. Some of them can't be in here because they're busy negotiating future deals. Inma Hernandez-Delso, John Brooks, who's a deputy administrator.
All right, anyway, so they're celebrating it.
Yeah.
A few more. We have this one. Watch RFK Jr.'s face as President Trump is praising Pfizer's Albert Bourla. Okay, this guy, there's so many a lot of Trump supporters that cannot stand this guy, specifically for what happened during COVID.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm curious, where are the other companies other than Pfizer? Are you expecting them to come along later?
They're all with us, and I was honored to have Albert be the first. He's done a fantastic job with, as you know, with the COVID. He did a fantastic job with a lot of things. He's a leader, and Pfizer is right at the top. It's there. Eli Lilly has been fantastic also, my friend. And they're all coming in over the next week. We're making deals with all of them.
So it's interesting.
I don't know. He's shaking it.
He's shaking his head at first. The shakes tend to, the nods tend to curtail. I don't know if there's anything to make about that. Now, here's the pushback on it, right?
Okay.
So to Ann Vanderstill's post here, somebody says, wow, this is an interestingly wrong take. And she says, explain. And this Stable Genius account writes that Pfizer is already entrenched. They're not going anywhere. How is a massive price cut to consumers and a massive U.S. investment anything but the best deal in all of medical history? RFK's HHS has done more to expose mRNA than anyone ever, and all but stopped all further mRNA vax development. Trump is uncoiling the snake, saving billions and saving lives. I've heard that we get. I've heard there's so many different, depending on the week. You'll have a story that says, oh, yeah, he really hit mRNA technology hard. Yeah. Then you'll have another one saying, well, these vaxes are going to continue in perpetuity.
Well, you and I were texting about this earlier today, and I can't remember exactly the analogy that I said, but do you do a deal with the devil or do you let the devil run free? And right now, if you look at Pfizer as the devil, then the devil is running free. They can do whatever they want. They can set the prices. Now, I know that they've got the favored nations, but I've not heard about that having an impact at all. And, if somebody will say something in the comments here and just let us know, were you buying something such as insulin or whatever, and now it's gotten cheaper? I would love to know. Or when does that favored nations?
Yeah, when does it kick in?
Yeah, when does it kick in? Because maybe it hasn't yet. But regardless, excuse me. But regardless, when you look at it and try to say, well, then what are you going to do? You're going to just put Pfizer out of business? They're not going anywhere. Pfizer is not going anywhere. So do we sit here and try to make them pay for COVID? I think they should. I agree with you completely that they should. But there's legislation that they can't even be sued. You can't even sue them over their COVID vaccine. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're either going to change that, or you're going to do a deal to save people's lives right now. And that is the people that go and say, do I pay rent this month or do I get my medicine?
Yeah. And there are those people. I tend to agree with your assessment. Like, if it were up to me and I were the emperor, I would put Pfizer and their executives and everything on trial for crimes against humanity. I mean, if it were up to me, that's exactly what I would do. I mean, I've seen the court documents that they tried to keep hidden for the next 50 years that showed they knew what this would do to pregnant women. Yeah. They knew what the clot shot would do, and yet they put it to market anyway. Then there's another component with all of this that I think makes it even more tricky, and that is when you get into, when you get into gain-of-function research, or you get into our own government being a part of it. And the DOD connections with the big pharmaceutical companies. And who really owns the vaccine? Does the DOD own the vaccine, or does Pfizer and these other companies, like, were they given? There's reporting out there suggests that the vax came not from big pharma, but it was given to big pharma. Mm-hmm. So it is all very corrupt. And I totally understand why there are people in the Maha movement that are very upset with Trump right now. But then I just think, what would he do? Like,
what would you have him do?
What would you have him do realistically when there are so many people that still worship Big Pharma? People, officials, politicians, the general public.
Yeah.
They even after COVID, there's a lot of trust that was lost, but there's still a lot of trust there, and there's still Americans that need their drugs, or they think they need their drugs, and many of them do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I see it as a tapestry. I'm going back to my tapestry analogy. There's good, there's bad, there's ugly. I think this is ugly. At the same time, I think it's also good for people to get drugs cheaper and then be manufactured here. But I get it, man. I totally get the frustration. I get it.
I have a friend who is a pharmacist, and I know this person extremely well, and I would like to get their take, honestly, on what this is actually going to mean in terms of everyday Americans walking into the pharmacy. Here's my prescription, and then the check. The bill coming to them and what their payment is on it. Like, I would like to know what this is actually going to mean. And I don't know if this person has done this research, because this is obviously relatively new, just happening today. But then going back to, has the favored nations clause taken into, that's something that we could probably just ask AI about. But regardless, I would like to get the pharmacist take on this, because ultimately that's where it's happening. It is, Pfizer is charging the pharmacy this much. The pharmacy has to make a profit. What's going to actually happen with this stuff? And I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
I'm just Googling something real quick because I want to make sure that it's true. Yeah, it is. So in other news, and this kind of goes to maybe one of my other soapboxes that I've been on before. In this same Maha movement, we have that Walmart is now supposedly eliminating all artificial food dyes from its store brand products. So
great value.
Yeah. This is huge.
It's massive.
This is huge.
I would say most people buy great value versus, it saves money.
For crunchy moms everywhere, this is huge. And for families everywhere that are not like that, this is huge. But I will say, okay, within the Maha coalition, there are those that want to put more of an emphasis on Big Pharma and holding them accountable. And then there are those, mainly Big Pharma, that wants big ag and food dyes to be the scapegoat for why Americans are so unhealthy. And so there is that dynamic. At the same time, man, do you know how hard it is to explain to a 6-year-old that they can't have Doritos because they've got red dye 40 in them?
Yeah.
But they want them, and it looks like, I'm sorry, sweetie, no, but we can get these at this other store that don't use red dye 40. It's like a landmine. And we shouldn't have to do this as Americans. If the food is not safe, if our food supply is toxic, it needs to be fixed. So here's the silver lining, I guess. I mean, is the ball being moved down the field? Yes. Do we take steps backwards? Yes.
Sure.
So
I think people, and this goes for Trump. This goes for the Department of Justice and the lack of perp walks that we've seen 100%. So far. Like, if you look at all of it, I think if we could just breathe and say, we're still in year one, okay? We're still in year one of Trump's presidency. In fact, how many months has he been in office, right? About 10, actually less than 10 months. So I think that we're seeing some positive gains with it. How much should we have seen versus whatever? I mean, we're seeing Congress show its rear end right now over something inconsequential. Democrats, you are not going to win this, because the only people who are commenting on your stuff about this government shutdown, saying that they agree with you, are your own party that you've already got anyway. A third of the country believes that the Republicans are at fault. 2/3 of the country know that it's the Democrats that are at fault here. So I think we all just got to put that in perspective with Maha. We got to put that in perspective with these food dyes and appreciate what Walmart is doing here. Like, let's give credit where credit's due. They may be jumping on the bandwagon, but they don't have to do this. They're one of the largest companies in the world, right? Walmart doesn't have to do this, and they're choosing
exactly
to
right.
do this.
But I'll say this: I get it. It is only 10 months, but this time next year it's the midterms.
Yeah,
and they're going to impeach him.
Razor thin margin.
They're going to impeach him if they win. They're going to impeach him. And so
how could they win?
There's literally they better start doing this. And the Department of Justice is to blame right now. Yeah. They really are to blame right now. You can look at the case of Tina Peters. Okay, Tina Peters, who is this whistleblower from Colorado, who did her patriotic duty exposing the stolen elections, and then she gets put in jail.
Yeah.
And Trump, and here's General Michael Flynn, the president has demanded my release 4 times, twice on Twitter, twice verbally. Why is the DOJ defying Trump's demands? Get off your expletives and get me out. This is from Tina Peters.
Yeah.
Day 364. She's a Gold Star mom. She is, she's elderly and she's, it's terrible what's happening to her. And while she's been found guilty of a state crime, the Justice Department could easily make her a witness and take her out.
Yeah.
A witness to crimes when it comes to the election. But there are attorneys, one in particular, not the one that resigned after Trump criticized Bondi last week before the indictment of James Comey. There's another one who I've been trying to find here, and I can't. Is it Todd Blanche? This is Tina Peters' lawyer, Trump lawyer, talking about Todd Blanche at the DOJ not helping the situation. Apparently, Todd Blanche is one of the reasons why that somebody like Tina Peters hasn't been released, and I think Todd Blanche is probably dragging his feet on some of these other indictments from these other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so, this is Trump. He's surrounded himself with better people, but if we don't get the results, then it's basically, it doesn't matter if they're slightly better. They either want to restore law and order and justice in this country, or they want to protect the deep state. And I don't know. I think it's all hands on deck when it comes to the indictments.
I get it. The problem is it's a big government, and there's not just one Tina Peters, but she has a really valid reason to be out of there, because she was a whistleblower talking about the exact reason why we had a controversy in 2020, right? And we're talking about the inconsistencies with these elections. And if that stuff is not fixed leading into these midterms, then Democrats are going to have power, and we're not going to get it back.
You're exactly right.
Okay,
real quick, as we wind the show down, this headline from FBI Director Kash Patel. He says James Comey wrote love letters to the ADL and embedded FBI agents with them, a group that ran disgraceful ops spying on Americans. That era is over. The FBI won't partner with political fronts masquerading as watchdog. Patel cuts ties with Comey's FBI that he made with the Anti-Defamation League. At the same time, Scott Adams is praising the news from Breitbart that the ADL has now dropped their glossary of extremism over one-sided criticism of Charlie Kirk.
It wasn't just one-sided criticism of Charlie Kirk. It was also criticism of Christians.
It was.
And what they were saying was, well, no, it was talking about the white national who call themselves Christians. Yeah. And you're like, no, that's not what it says.
No, and then their definition of anti-Semitism that just keeps getting larger and larger and larger, to where, like, if you were to quote the New Testament,
right?
It's insane.
Do you realize, too, I looked it up, that in 2007, 2008, somewhere around in there, like the Webster's dictionary version of fascism did not say right wing.
Oh, it did not?
No, it didn't. No,
there
it didn't.
You go.
So they've added, it's an extreme right group.
Elon Musk on this news, the FBI was taking their hate group definitions from the ADL, which is why the FBI was investigating Charlie Kirk and Turning Point instead of his murderers.
Exactly. Elon Musk for the win. That is exactly what was happening.
I mean, you got to say, like, you got to commend Kash Patel for at least coming out and saying, hey, yeah, this is partly the fault. Like, this is why we got where we are, is because the government was being weaponized against conservatives.
Yeah. Give me a Robert Kennedy. Give me a Tulsi Gabbard. Give me a Kash Patel. Give me a Pete Hegseth. who went in and just blistered these
Oh,
fat
I covered
generals.
that earlier.
Right.
That was fantastic.
You covered that on Millstone
Yeah,
earlier?
yeah.
So basically, Pete Hegseth has been nothing but a positive force for the Secretary of Defense. And so give me some of those people. I could take or leave Pam Bondi. Like, I love her one day and I hate her the next day, you know, kind of thing. So
no, I'm right there. I want to remind everybody that if you want to support the show, go to paultalkshow.substack.com, become a paid subscriber monthly or yearly, and I'll send you a copy of My Game, Left Wing Will, and The Red Pill. That is all the time that we have for this edition of the Paul Harrell program. Rob, it was great to have you again, sir.
Glad to be here as always.
All right, folks, stay safe out there. Thanks to our sponsors, Red Vive Health, New Horizon Real Estate, Gateway Sight and Sound, T-Guard Bail Bonds, and Sherrod Chiropractic. We will see you tomorrow.